How do you supercharge your employees' engagement and learning? Is gamification the missing element? If you're here tonight to hear about gamification and how it can be used to supercharge your employee engagement and learning, macro scale and micro scale, you're in the right place. And we haven't met. My name is Francis Wade. I'm the founder of Carib HR Forum. And tonight we have a very special guest, Lisa Facey Shaw. Dr. Lisa Facey Shaw. And today we're going to take you through a interesting workshop style conversation around the topic of gamification. And as you may know, well, hold on, before I even go into the blah, 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 let me say hello to everyone. Are you hearing me clearly? Hello, Enid. Hi, Georgia. Oh, Georgia here. Georgia, you know, call me. How comes? Hi, Rita. I'm seeing some names I don't know. Hi, Christine. Rajiv, you owe me a message, you know. Camille, how are you? Hi, Nashrud. And let me pull up the very first slide and get us going, because gamification is a bit of a side issue with respect to what we're talking about tonight. What we really care about tonight is the battle for attention. So if you're brand new to us here at Remo, you may notice that there's a slide going up in the chat, and that's where we put our slides here at Carib HR Forum. We don't really share screens more than so. So there's a battle for attention going on, and COVID has only made it worse. And technology combined with people's concerns, they're now working from home, which means that the family and people who they're working with and living with are now fighting. There is this constant and increased fight for their attention. And if you think it's not that bad, it's going to get worse over time. That's the expectation. And old style, the old ways of engaging staff. Remember when people used to do town halls? Maybe your company still kind of does them, and they used to put out newsletters, and that was how staff was engaged. Or maybe did like a sports day. Sports day is not gamification, by the way. That's sports. And those typical approaches have been contrasted with what it's like to play a game. So imagine you are in your town hall, the town hall is finished, everybody was quiet, nobody had any questions, CEO was wondering what's up, and after the game, they go and play a game of football, which is in the diagram that I have right here. And they stay until 11 o'clock playing football. And you're wondering, how come they care so much about the football? I couldn't even get 10 minutes of attention during the town hall. Or if they're in your training, and during the training, they are on their phones, and they're checking this, and they're hardly engaged, and as soon as the game is over, they go back to the football table and they stay up and playing the game until 10. And how is it that they're so engaged in playing games, but when it comes to work, traditional work and traditional ways of engaging employees, they're completely checked out? So this may have something to do with the age of employees, but tonight, we're going to assume that what they're responding to is not something that has to do with their age, but it has to do with their gamification. So let me grab my gamified weapon. Buddy got one of these? Okay. Guess what this is? Gamified insect killing. Somebody very smart. So the swatter used to just be a swatter. And then somebody came up with an electronic swatter. But somebody else went the next step and they said, tennis racket. So they gamified brought fun. You know, there's nothing more satisfying than having that zap when you kill a mosquito that has been bothering you. They found a way to gamify killing insects. So can everything be gamified? Well, I'm about to give you an opportunity to gamify something so you can see for yourself. But I know from personal experience, I've spent in the last 2 years, I've ridden 6,000 and something miles on Zwift. 2 years ago, a friend introduced me to gamified cycling. And it takes place on a machine, on a regular bicycle with a trainer attached to it and a sensor on the back wheel. And on the screen in front of you, I use my laptop, you're racing against thousands of people all over the world, real people. And gamified cycling has taken me all the way through COVID, as you could imagine. I got lucky and I found this thing before COVID. My friend told me about it. But I've been a cyclist since about 1996, cycling at least twice, 3 times a week. I've never been more consistent than I am now. I never made the gains that I have made as quickly as I am now. And I can see the gains happening in this gamified experience in terms of my level, my wattage, what's called my FTP. I won't bore you with all the numbers, but for the first time, I'm getting feedback on how well I'm riding. That's basically immediate. So does gamification work? We shall see. I'll just leave it at that. But in the context of what we're working on tonight, I want you to think of gamification as a particular way of supercharging, almost taking engagement, regular engagement, up to a extreme level. And if you talk to your kids and they tell you the kind of games they play, or if you play games the way I do, you may know what it's like to be lost in a game and be stuck in keep playing it for like 12 hours and even longer. Now, that kind of engagement in companies is hard to find nowadays, no? That kind of total immersion that can be designed into an activity. It really should be our business. If you're someone who's in L&D, if you're someone who's in HR, if you're someone who needs to talk to an audience, that kind of hyper engagement is really what we're after. Gamification is just the means to accomplish this extreme engagement that folks noticed happens during games, and it then led them to ask the question, well, can't we take some of that game stuff and put it into work? And that's what we're about today. Okay, so our timeline for tonight, we're in the introductory part. In a minute, we'll set up an exercise and I'll introduce you to Lisa. And then we're actually going to go back to conference mode. This is a very different kind of evening. You're going to spend a good chunk of time in conference mode tonight working on a pretty challenging exercise. You're going to come back, but it's not just an exercise. It's also a competition in a way. You'll give some feedback that's written. We have a judge who will be selecting a winner of the written feedback. Then we're going to bring some of you up live here on the stage to be coached by Lisa and I in the 10 principles of gamification. And as you apply them, you take our coaching, we'll bring up some more people, we'll have this conversation that's live, direct, recorded. Our judge will also pick a most promising team based on the coaching that their representative received. All of this tonight. And we'll close out the evening with a networking session that will run until 8 o'clock. Plenty things tonight. And it's really more, if you think of it this way, it's really more of a workshop tonight than it is of us doing a whole heap of talking. Because we're actually throwing you in the deep end and saying, all right, swim. And we'll drag you out before you drown, but you'll be wet and you'll be able to say, well, here's what it was like to swim. As you probably know, we have a conference coming up. This is a build-up to our conference on September 16th to 18th. If you have not saved the date, go ahead and do that. Registration is actually open right now. We're not pushing registration really hard just because we want to give people an opportunity to absorb the fact that the conference is coming, save the date, start to tell their friends, do these kinds of things. We also want to let you know that we have a sponsor. So our first sponsor this year is Mark Rim Compensation Studies. And if you remember them from last year, if you happen to have been around, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. There's the link. They're offering a free download right now. It's a download that summarizes 2018 to 19 some compensation insights from the prior surveys that they've done. Okay, you'll hear much more about them later on, but you can go ahead and access that right now and receive your download. And of course, a big thanks to them, because the reason we can offer our conference for free is because we have sponsors. That's why we had 1,400 people register last year, and we hopefully will have a number looking something like that this year. Okay. All right, so I want to introduce you to Lisa Facey-Shaw. Lisa Facey-Shaw, PhD. This is Dr. Lisa Facey-Shaw. Is a senior lecturer in the in the School of Computing and Information Technology at the University of Technology, Jamaica. She completed her PhD degree in the field of technology-enhanced learning at the Open University of the Netherlands, with her dissertation focused on gamification with digital badges in learning programming. Her research interests include computing education, technology-enhanced learning, innovation, and distance learning. Lisa, I'm going to invite you to turn on your microphone and your camera so we can get to see you and know you and hear your voice as we give the instructions for the exercise. Lisa's thesis was on gamification with digital badges in learning programming in late 2019. So we're a bit lucky to have Lisa Facey-Shaw with us, because she's kind of like the only PhD in the Caribbean in the area of gamification. Lisa, is that true, or am I just exaggerating for effect?
As far as I know, Francis, I'm not sure. I know there are a couple other persons who are completed, so I have yet to find out how many other persons. But hello everybody. It's nice to be here, and it's nice to meet you.
Great. And you're definitely the first, for sure, right?
I'm gonna find that out very soon.
Yeah, great. All right, guys. So let's get into the exercise, because this is actually where we throw you right into the deep end of the pool and ask you to swim and see what happens. So if you're new to Remo, I'm going to give you some instructions so that you know what's going to happen next. We're in presentation mode. I'm going to click a button, and then we'll flip over into conference mode. Now, conference mode is the mode that you came in, if you came in early, where you saw sitting at the tables. And what Remo is going to do is to randomly assign you to a table. Okay, that's good and that's bad. Means that you don't have to do anything to be assigned to a table. However, you could end up at a table all alone. If you find yourself at a table all alone, double click on the table that you want to get to, and it'll move you over. When you go into the room, you're going to hear the video playing, the automatic instructions. Hello, welcome to Remo. Here's what you do if you don't have a clue. If you do have a clue, you can turn off that video, turn off the audio by clicking in the bottom left-hand corner. Just click on that pause button. Okay, it's a YouTube video that's embedded in there. Just turn that off if you already know and you don't need instructions. And in terms of, I think I already said this, in terms of moving around, by the way, if you're brand new to Remo also, click on the graphic to expand it, to cover up your screen if you can't read the writing on it. So this one is a bit small. Just click on the graphic and it will expand to fill the screen. So once again, just move around, double click on the table that you want to go to. As long as there's someone there, most tables hold 4 people. There are a couple with 2 people. So stay away from the ones with 2 people. Stick to the ones with 4. And make sure you have some partners. We have just enough people today that we may not have an issue with space. But if your microphone and your camera are not working, you can still communicate with folks at your table by using the table chat. Table chat will be all the way at the very bottom of your screen. And lots of instructions, huh? Whew, I want to make this easy, just in case this is your very first time. Everybody, take note of the table number. Tonight, table number is your team identifier. Table number is your team identifier, and I'm going to explain why that's important in just a minute, okay? And then finally, keep an eye on the timer at the top. That's going to tell you how much time you have left. I'm going to tell you how much time you have to do this exercise, which is, as I promised, not easy. Okay, here we go. So our goal for the exercise is to apply gamification principles from a popular game to improve an onboarding process. Now, if these instructions are hitting you too fast, the good news is that they're going to be in the chat, and you can access the chat from your table. However, feel free to expand the slide, take a picture of it, because there's going to be a kind of a few of them for this particular exercise. So that's the goal. Here's part one. Unfortunately, the folks on YouTube are a bit out of luck. Guys, if you're on YouTube, we have space here on Remo. I encourage you to come and grab a spot while you can, because most of the evening you won't quite be able to participate the way folks here at Remo will be participating. All right, so as a team at your table, a team of 4 or less, the first step is to pick a popular game most or all of you have played in the past. So in Jamaica, we would say stuck in the mud. But I understand that that name is not understood everywhere in the Caribbean. So you may choose something like tag, hide and seek. What's wrong with the chairs again? When you're person, the musical chairs, pin the tail on the donkey. Or if you might even go all the way to an adult game, such as dominoes, or you might go to Trivial Pursuit, if you don't want to pick something that's too young. You know, it's up to you. But the idea is to settle on a game that you all kind of understand, because the next question goes to the design of the game. What about the design of the game made it functional, fun, and engaging? All right, first question was easy. This one is not so easy. And here you want to take some notes, okay? And that's part one. Part two. Ooh, it's a heavy question. Is it possible to supercharge? Good question, Horace. We'll get to that one when we get back. Part two, bring to mind the first job in your career. How were you onboarded in that first job? So we don't want the last job. We want the first one that you ever had. And chances are the onboarding wasn't so good. So we're trying to look for an example that's not exemplary. Discuss different experiences and choose 1 or 2 examples or cases. Okay? So we want you to, from the sharing that you do as a team, pick 1 or 2 examples. Like my first job was working at an oyster culture company where we grew oysters. And I can't remember what my onboarding was. I think I'm a little too old to remember, but I don't think I had too much onboarding. It was more a case of jump in the car, we're gonna go look at the oysters in the country. I don't think I knew what was going on, but not too much. Figured it out much later on. So that's part 2. And then here's the third part, the part that makes this not so easy, is to combine the two. So as a designer of a gamified onboarding experience, we'd like for you to redesign this experience or the experience that you chose using the best elements of the game that you chose. So you're taking the parts of the game that made it fun, functional, and engaging, and you're attempting to apply it to the onboarding experience that you chose. Like the oyster culture one that I had. What would have made it fun, functional, and engaging? Then you pick a spokesperson, or somewhere along the line, you need a spokesperson and you need a scribe, 2 different jobs for this particular exercise. Write down, as you're talking, make notes about how you would redesign that onboarding experience, that one that you chose. And the exercise, this part will take 15 minutes. So you have a good amount of time to go back and forth and come up with this newly designed onboarding experience that uses the principles, the elements of those games or that game that you chose. And you have to apply those. Don't apply other ones from other places. Apply the ones that came from your game. So it's really a challenge. Then enter your responses on a form. So we'll pop a form up on the screen. Just follow the instructions and fill them out. And we'll come back once you've filled out your form. So the scribe should do all of the writing and the filling out of the form when the time comes. The spokesperson, what about them? Okay. So your spokesperson is going to come back and enter a little bit of a competition. So we're going to be coaching the spokesperson using the 10 principles, the 10 elements of gamification. And the spokesperson is, depending on how coachable they are, we'll give a second award for the most promising team. So the first award will be based on your written input. The second award will be based on kind of our sense of the team, the coachability of the spokesperson, and which one we think is sort of the best. So, any questions? Let's do this, Rika said. All right. All right. So when I hit the button to have us go over, you'll find yourself at a table. If it's not the table that you want to be at, move to a different table. Tables hold at most 4 people. If you're one of these weird tables that only holds 2, move to a table that holds 4. It'll be more fun. We'll be bouncing around. That's myself, Dale, Samantha, and Lisa. So if you have any questions, just come and find us. I'll be giving you instructions. You'll see they'll be covering over the screen. And don't forget, there's a timer involved, so pay attention to that timer. All right, so I think we're ready. Ooh. All right, so I'm stopping the recording. And we're going to jump on over 15 minutes of deep end swimming.